get right into it. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining this information session. As Emily said, we are recording today, and we are going to be sharing this publicly for people who couldn't join. So if you do not wish to be recorded, you can turn off your camera. So before we begin, there's just a few guidelines that I just want to go through to help us make this event as successful as possible. Number one, this is an information session, and so we will be prioritizing any questions that you have related to the program. So one way that we ask you to do this is the chat feed on your right. We're going to reserve that primarily for questions. If, however, that is not accessible to you, then all you got to do is you can raise your hand, and we will try to prioritize you. I am kind of reading notes, so Kirsty is she might interrupt me to let me know if anybody has their hand up. If you don't have your camera on, there's actually a little, what do you call it, emoji hand that you can put up on your square. If anybody has any confusion around that, no problem. You can actually just message Kirsty directly in the chat, or just yell it out and we'll try to help you out. Number two, if you have any comments or any concerns or any feedback that doesn't sound like a question, but it's just a general comment, we ask that you just actually say that, send that to us by email after the session. We really just want to prioritize people's questions today. Number three, if you have any technical issues, you can email Kirsty or Emily, or you can message Kirsty directly in the chat, and we'll try to help you out. Number four, if you are speaking at any point, we ask that you state your name before and after you're finished asking your question. So really, this is a practice that we do to help folks who don't have access to visual cues. It helps to clarify who is speaking. So for example, if I were done speaking, I would say end of thoughts. And number five, if we don't get to everybody's questions today, that might happen. There's a lot of people here. We can for sure follow up after the session and try to answer as many questions as we can by email, or we can also possibly meet with you one-on-one if we're not too bonkers busy. Does anybody have any questions so far about any of those guidelines before I move on? Hi, Seely. Thank you so much. Thumbs up. So that's a thumbs up from Seely. If there are no more questions or any questions yet, I will move on. So as I said, my name is Lindsay Fisher. I am the founder, director, Creative Users Projects. I'm calling today from, it's an incredibly beautiful sunny day from Kingston, Ontario, otherwise known as Cataraqui. And it's a traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. And I'm especially today incredibly grateful to be standing here on this beautiful land as a white settler. So anyway, So I'm going to move on and I'm going to introduce Emily. I'm going to ask Emily some questions about the program, and then we're going to have 20 minutes to take questions from the group. So Emily Cook. Who is Emily Cook? Emily Cook is our digital programs manager. Just started working with us about 3 months ago. Before working with us, Emily, well, actually, I think you're always doing this, Emily. You're an artist, you're an arts educator, you're a cultural administrator. Emily worked at OCAD, studied at OCAD University and Louisiana State University. Did I hear somebody interject with a?
Oh, both. You were correcting yourself, but I did both.
Emily runs a Paper House Studio, which is an experimental studio rooted in papermaking with an artist named Flora Shum. And as a low vision arts worker, she's interested in disability arts and crip culture, and designs art and cultural initiatives that create meaningful opportunities for artists. So, Emily, hello.
Hi.
That was a lot of a preamble. Thank you for your patience and everybody else. Thank you. Emily, I want to say first, thank you for organizing this information session. I think it's really great, and I think people are excited to hear more. So I'm just gonna go right into it. Can you just start? Why don't we start by you telling us more about what this program is about?
Sure. It's been really exciting to develop and work with you on. So this program is going to be, it's called Sensory Shift. It's the program itself is going to happen from May to July. It's a residency and mentorship program offered, as you were mentioning, to the Creative Connector community. The residency will feature two guest artists, Andy Slater and Iris Lee, who will who will host events and workshops, and they'll all be focusing on sort of digital sensory experiences and translating those experiences into multiple kind of sensory modes. And their practices are rooted in that kind of work. So I'm really excited to work with them.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably the question that is burning in everybody's brain is who are the artists?
I'll tell you a little more about them. Andy Slater is a blind Chicago-based media artist. He's a writer and a performer and a disability advocate. I've been working with him on a number of projects. He's really great. His work focuses on advocacy for accessible art and technology, alt text for sound, and an image, like documentary film. He does some spatial audio stuff that's really like fascinating within extended reality. He does sound design for sci-fi, he does video games. He's created a large number of compositions featuring the sounds from his body and navigating different acoustic spaces. He creates these really amazing kind of soundscapes of him moving through space using his cane and echolocation clicks and disrupting natural and built environments with his body and being. He's really amazing. We will put a link to his website in the chat as well. And Iris, they're disabled, neurodivergent, queer, trans, non-binary, second generation Chinese American. They're a writer and artist from the Bay Area. Their work's been focusing on their identity as a disabled and neurodivergent person, and as well as a scholar and an activist. They recently designed a series of installations that reflect sensory and playful aspects of their lived experiences. Um, the this is it sounds really complex, but like a lot of it is really playful. They've been playing with descriptions of tactile things as sort of artworks in themselves. And also there's been like these really amazing games. Um, they align themselves with crypt technoscience, which was a little bit of a new term for me, but it's something that prioritizes disabled people as knowers and makers to produce forms of access otherwise unavailable, and to actively redesign the world to better fit the needs of disabled people and communities. And which is just like a really exciting way to look at the world. They use their own experiences as the center point of their design practice, and they center a world that celebrates disabled, queer, trans people of color, and all of their and our different sensory, cognitive, physical needs. And so I'm really excited to work with both of them and to work with both of them together. I think it's going to be just, there's so much opportunity for exploration.
That's great. And I want to give a shy shout out to one of the artists who's actually here, Iris. And with an acknowledgement that Iris is just getting over a very bad flu, but Iris, we're very grateful you're here, that you could make it. And thank you, Emily, for talking a bit about the artists. And also, I think there's so much depth to what these artists are doing. So we are going to post links and more information about their practice over the next week or two on social media and emails. So yes, so stay tuned. I wonder, before I move on, it is 2:18. How, Gaitrie and Rogue, how are you two doing? Would you like a 5-minute break, or should I plow on?
We're good, thank you. You can keep going.
Okay, great. So, I mean, Emily, I think another probably a good question that people might be wondering is, you know, the mentorship part of this program. What will mentees do as part of this program, and how are they going to be working with Andy and Iris?
Yeah, that is, so they're going to attend a couple of online workshops that we're in the midst of developing. There's also going to be one-on-one time with the artists, and some peer learning groups. We are still developing kind of a little bit of sort of hashing out some of the structure, and some of that's really going to be kind of a co-learning with the mentees when they come in. But the workshops themselves, we're going to, Andy, Iris, and I are going to spend the next few weeks kind of pinning down some logistics around them, and we'll be able to announce some of that stuff soon, although probably not before you guys are applying for the mentorship program. So hopefully you can get excited about the artists without necessarily having like all of the fine details about precisely what you'll be doing together, because I think some of that's going to happen organically as we all work together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, Emily. And what about the application process? So, how are mentees going to be selected, and what will you be looking for in those applications?
So we've put together an application form that's right now in Google Forms. We'll also have it'll be available in other formats if Google Forms isn't accessible to you. So that's going to go live probably today, and be announced on social media. What the way that we're gonna sift through those applications is that Andy and Iris and I are gonna go through all of them together. We're looking for folks that are a good fit with the program, which is a pretty open-ended question, which we have asked you guys to kind of talk through in the application. We're looking for folks who are interested in collaboration, who are engaged with some of the ideas around the census. We're also open to surprises in the applications. So, don't hesitate to apply. And if you've got any questions, once you've kind of had an opportunity to go through the application questions, absolutely, I'm here to support in any way. We're also open to receiving answers in the form of like audio or video. There's a lot of flexibility built into that, but what we're looking for basically are like good collaborators who are excited about the ideas and excited to experiment and learn, and then go out into the world and bring it to their communities.
That's great. And Emily, I realized we didn't well, I know we've talked about it, but maybe you can respond to that question, which is probably there in people's mind, is do people need to be a member of Creative Connector to apply?
They don't. No, they can apply without being a member of Creative Connector, but it is a program where we're prioritizing members of Creative Connector. But if there's there's a specific reason that you're not comfortable becoming a member of the community, just talk to us about it and we can figure it out. But I think that, yeah.
Actually, you know what, Emily, I'm gonna have to correct you.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Actually, you do have to be a member of Creative Connector community. However,
okay, never mind. You don't have to be.
However, you don't have to have a profile. You don't have to have a public profile. So, I'm sorry if that confuses people, but yes, this is a program. The mentorship part of this program is for members of our community. Becoming a member, would only require filling out the form to be a member, and that information that you provide will be used primarily for internal purposes, but we do not have to make any of that public. So you don't have to have a profile on the directory. I hope that clarifies things, but we can clarify it later if we need to. Sorry, Emily.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just, That's
okay. That's okay. Okay, so what if, Emily, someone applies but isn't selected? Are there other ways that they can be involved?
Yes, there are going to be a bunch of other ways to get involved. So we're going to have some, Iris and Andy are going to work with these mentees in a really special way. It's going to be like a kind of in-depth and lovely way you're going to get to know each other. But we're also going to have some meetups that are designed the same way as the meetups that you might all be familiar with from last year. So there's going to be 3 of those at the end of each of the months of the residency. There's also going to be workshops where folks from the broader community can sign up for it. Obviously, there's going to be limited spots to that, but there will be some workshops that are not just for the mentees. And then also Iris and Andy are going to spend a little bit of time on Slack. They're going to have some office hours where you can come and ask them questions. So there'll be lots of ways of getting involved and being a part of the conversations that are happening.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, thanks. I think that is it for my questions, actually. So we're making some really good time. So we can actually start taking questions from the group.
Oh, there is one thing I just wanted to say, the applications are going to be due April 17th, which is just that's just.
Yeah. Okay. So let me start, Roxanne, I know you've had your hand up for a few minutes. Do you want to go? Do you have a question?
Yes, I do. So I'm also a visual artist as well. I'm visually impaired. I'm also I'm finding a career of my path in art. Even though that I've struggled with some stuff along the way, I really feel that art is healing and it's a way for me to just, express myself. And a lot of what has, like happened in my life, my art articulates and it allows me to express my emotions.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, for every link that you have posted in the chat, because I have seen them, I have some vision. It's not perfect, but I have some vision. For most of the links that have been put in the chat, I have copied and pasted them and sent them to myself on text messaging, and also sent them off to my mom because I do want to apply. I find this very interesting and also educational. And I really love what you guys are doing. It's just amazing.
Okay.
I've been listening in, and I mean, there's so much to learn from. And I think one of my questions would probably be, I mean, I saw the form there, I saw how you joined, but I guess one of my questions would be like, do you have to make the application as detailed as possible?
I mean, as detailed as you can, but you certainly can. If you, sorry, if someone's, I'm getting an echo.
Should I go outside or something? Maybe it's are you hearing someone talk or what is it?
I think we're good. Go ahead, Emily.
Go ahead.
So we'll post everything, but if you have it, and I can certainly send you the questions in another format if that Google Sheet is great, but you can record your answers to those questions if you want to and send me an audio file. That's totally.
Would it be okay with you? Like, am I allowed to put my email in the chat?
Sure, if you'd like to, but
so that you guys can reach out to me.
We have your email if you signed up for this session. And
yeah, I did. I had my mom help me because I can't see very well.
Okay.
Now, yeah, Roxanne, for sure. But we have your email.
Sorry?
Yeah, put your email in there. We'll reach out to you and we'll figure out a way for you to get through the application.
Okay, because I have been receiving emails, so I just want to know if you guys had my email like on the contact list. That's all.
Okay, put it in the chat to make sure, and we'll we'll make sure.
Yeah, I'll do it now while I'm thinking about it because I don't want to forget.
Okay, thank you, Roxanne.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
Got it.
I know Bren. Bren, I think you've had your hand up. Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, I have a question, but there are some questions and comments in the chat. I wonder if you wanted to answer those first as they came before mine, and I can hold. It's just a short one. End of thought.
Yes. Okay, I've been trying to organize the questions by order. So let's see. So the first question is, what is the stipulation of being, or what is the stipulation of being a part of the private group?
I think they mean creative connectors.
A private group. Like, I think, did I mention, I was talking about the Slack private group. Is that right?
Maybe.
I think that's what the question is referring to. So I think maybe I'll talk a bit about as a member of Creative Connector, you are a member of this private forum on Slack. And what I mean by private is that it's only for members of Creative Connector. It's not a public forum. And I think the only stipulation is that you have to join to become a member of Creative Connector to be part of that private group, to be part of that group. I hope that answers the question. The next question I have is, can you explain internal use whenever? So what I mean by internal use of information, so to become a member of Creative Connector, we don't want to, I mean, we encourage you to create, like, to put a profile of on our directory, really so that people can find you for any opportunities or just looking for other artists to work with. However, we understand that some people might not be comfortable making their information public. So we have the option of you become a member, but you get all the benefits of being a member, but we don't put your profile online. And so what I mean by internal use is that you still fill out the form, we have your information, but it's just kept in our internal files. Okay, there's a lot of stuff happening in the chat. Let's see. I'll go to the next question. So somebody asked us, how do we pitch, Emily, this might be for you. How do we pitch our projects? Because I came to Kingston 5 years ago. Oh, yay, Kingstonite. Hello. I came to Kingston 5 years ago and still haven't even so much as gotten a $500 grant for materials, let alone anyone who offered to mentor me. I've had 2 mentors and the OAC was shocked, saying the submissions showed they had put no effort into my application and that it didn't even look like their work despite being funded multiple times from the OAC. So I'm at a loss, but have spent every dime of my critical injuries comp award that should have gone for my ability to heal, let alone purchase things that I resonate with. I believe Kirsty was working at the KSC where I walked in, and she said we need to get her funding. My inability to do my work and continue projects I had to start because I got absolutely nowhere here or in the arts in respect to learning, even how interpret or comprehend what was required of me. I don't see a question there. I'm sorry. I think that is from, let me see.
There's questions at the bottom. So I'm giving you a backstory because I've reached out and emailed you guys as well a couple times. So I have disabilities and I've stated what they are. It seems like I'm coherent here in the chat. I've added additional context to the previous ones and I'm wordy. So that's why when you're reading it, like clearly we can see where the issue is. But in saying that, I am trying to prevent my mental illnesses from progressing further. And I'm angry all the time now and I'm losing my voice, which like, I mean, literally I can't get at things. And so if this is for people with disabilities, and I assure you, I've reached out to Workman's Arts and Tangled, and they were unable to help me. And I've been just circling back and forth and around these circles, like 4 different times with 4 different referrals from the same organizations, and I'm just going nowhere. So I'm just wondering how this, and if this, because I saw that Kirsty was a member here. So that's pretty much why this is like my last go. I can't keep banging my head. I'm getting brain fog from it because I'm just not getting it. So something's got to give. And so I'm wondering if you guys have that support here so that I can properly apply for these types of programs. But in the same token, I have my own projects that I would like to get up and running as well. So I would like to be able to have that mentoring under your organization and have that support as well, because I should be able to be at least painting my own story with dollar store paints. So if that makes sense to anybody.
Yeah, Chaz, thank you. Absolutely. The support is here in that if, it is an application process, so we are going to be considering all applicants. you know, there are other ways of being involved, as Emily mentioned. So we want to engage with you, Chad. So let's like find ways of, you know, keeping you
Of assuring that my comprehension and that I'm interpreting it correctly, yes, so that I can give you the proper answers. And if that's possible to do via video as well, with additional support. That's what I did with the CAC, and I just ended up applying myself. And the project got recommended finally this year, but we didn't get the funding. So
Yeah,
fucking right. I busted my ass to get to this point. So sorry for my language, but I'm just tired. So yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that.
You applying with video for sure.
Yeah. The next question is the thinking that the workshops, Emily, the workshops, this is from Tanya, is the thinking that the workshops and the sessions will be less techy and more individual focused? Or
I'm not sure I understand the question. Is the workshops are gonna, I mean, there's some of them might be a bit techy, and Andy's talking about or trying to think about ways of having haptic feedback online, but there's kind of different levels of engagement, right? So if you come to the meetups, that's going to be more conversational and casual. The workshops will have some kind of structure to them, but if you're a part of the mentorship, there's going to be a mix of things. There's going to be conversations between the guest artists and yourself and the other mentees. There's also going to be like there will be a little bit of structured learning, and there'll be some collaboration opportunities that I think will emerge kind of organically as you get to know each other. But the workshops themselves, they're not necessarily geared to one person. They're going to be geared to groups of 4, so it'll be a mixture of what's does that answer your question?
well, I know Tanya's work actually, so I wonder if maybe I'm guessing that where Tanya's going with this is is it possible that if somebody prefers working on their own, that they can have that space to do their individual focused work as part of this program?
Oh yeah, I mean, certainly I think that the workshops are a small component of what you're doing. It's just sort of an opportunity to give you a bit of focused learning around and doing something together. But the hope is that those are feeding into your own work.
Actually, can I clarify my question?
Yes, Tanya, thank you.
I guess I sort of worded it wordy. I guess because when you described how the workshops are evolving and they're going to be one-on-one and peer learning and you're still developing, I guess my question was under the field of sensory, and given what the 2 mentors' background was, I mean, I don't really, the individual aspect isn't important to me, just because it's still being worked out. You know, I from this today, I couldn't tell if, okay, it's going to be this week we do vibrotactile. Next week, we're talking about more sensory things that have to do with the one person's work with, you know, the voice, or is it going to evolve from there? I guess at this point, it sounds like a great opportunity. But it still sort of sounds like it's evolving in terms of what the content would be. So I'm assuming that the individual nature was depending on who applies, and then the 2 mentors, it will kind of also evolve from there.
So I think I can answer your question. The answer is kind of both. So
okay. Thank you.
There is going to be you will have kind of a cohort of 4 people who are going to go through this program together, and there's going to be probably 2 workshops that are like a little bit more formal, but the rest of the program is more of a mentorship. So you've got Andy and Iris, and with me in the background doing some support work, are gonna design some stuff, and things will evolve definitely once you've got that cohort together. But there is both the opportunity for some one-on-one interaction with the artist where you can speak more specifically to your own artwork with them. There's going to probably be some gatherings of, the whole group together to sort of have some conversational things happening. You as a mentee, one of the people who are kind of those 4 chosen people in the program will have more access to the artist than the general population and of creative connectors. Everyone's going to have a little bit of a chance to ask them questions, but you would have access to them with like kind of, like I'm not being clear. There's
I get it. I guess my question was sort of, okay, so it's not that right now it's predetermined that this week right now it's going to be XYZ. We're going to do that for 4 weeks and that's it, versus, what you've explained, the 2 by 2, that makes sense.
Yeah, so there will be some formal learning, but there's also some stuff some room for things to change and evolve, and for you guys to develop relationships and collaborations along the way.
Thank you. It sounds like you're having fun developing it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thank you, Tanya. This is a good question, Emily. Would this program be, it sounds like this person is an artist. Would this program be appropriate for an artist and a curator developing a multi-sensory show together? So the person asking this is saying that they're the artist in this equation,
Yeah.
and the one who would be applying, they're wondering if it would be possible for their creator to sit in on some of the elements of this program.
That is a really interesting question, and I don't think I have a straight answer for you, but I'd like to connect with you to kind of explore that question a little further. That sounds like a longer answer, but I'd like to know a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely an intriguing, I'm already intrigued. Whoever, I think Bertie, you asked this question, I'm already intrigued. So yes, please apply and tell us more. We want to know.
Or email me and we can discuss it further before you apply. Yeah, like I'm interested in what you're thinking, and either, whether it's this or some other way, I'm sure there are some interesting ways to work together.
Yeah. I'm also just a gentle reminder, thank you, Alexa, for folks, when you speak, to please just introduce yourself, your name, and then when you're finished the question, you can just let us know by saying end of thought or end of question. Jess, I think you. Oh no, Bren. Sorry, Bren. I'll go to you, and then Jess. You can go next. Bren, do you want to ask a question?
So I think this will address some of Chaz's questions that are in the chat as well. In terms of, are there like any required artistic outputs for this, or is this more of like an incubation situation and thought?
More of an incubation situation. I think, yeah, there's no required output, and we're sort of excited to see what'll happen, and maybe there'll be some opportunities to share stuff if folks want to when things start to develop, but there's not a strict requirement for a specific output. No.
Great. Jess, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a question that maybe needed clarity when you came across it in the chat, Lizzie. Yeah, to acknowledge, I think Andy's awesome, and I have not encountered your work before or met you, but it's exciting to have you in the chat as well. I guess my curiosity, Emily, I just saw your post today about this new chapter and project, and so I wasn't aware of I guess the relationality to what do you call it? The incubator thing? Sorry, the platform where you want people to have profiles or be like tethered to in some way. And I do always like to get a lot of clarity, especially in this era where disability in the arts is so. Sorry, Gaitrie, I know I'm speaking so fast. Where disability arts data is relational to funding and stuff. So I just, if you could speak clearly about where that kind of data from creating a profile will go and to what end and how that's connected to money. I find comfort in knowing about those things, if that helps at all explain my question. Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you, Jess, and I can respond to that. So, and it's a very good question. The data, it's funny, another word for that is information, right? And that's really important to us because we really want to create an online space where everybody has agency of their own data, right? So in April, we're actually going to be releasing a feature of the community where you actually can create your membership and have control over that data, right? So you'll be able to like delete it whenever you want. You can make it private, you can make it public, you do whatever you want. And when you delete it, it's like gone. You have the right to be invisible. You have the right to not exist. So, but until then, what we haven't, hopefully that'll be April, mid-April, if we're lucky. But until then, what we're doing, we're kind of doing everything manually right now and using Google Forms. And the reason why we ask people to fill out a form to become a member is so that we can just get to know who you are, why you're here, what you hope to get out of being a member, so that we can just, that data is very, it helps us get a better understanding of how to design programs, for example, like this, right? However, it's not perfect right now because you're right, it's like you don't have like control over that. You fill out a form and then it's like information that is stored on our computer, right? That will change in April, but until then, we have an agreement. If you fill out a form and become a member, our obligation to you is that information will be deleted. All you have to do is send us an email and say, I want to be removed and eliminated from your membership, and then we delete that on your behalf. So that's kind of the way it works right now. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, and I appreciate the rarity of accessibility applied to data collection. If that's a compliment at all. There isn't always a space to ask that question, so I appreciate your response. Totally.
Great.
Lindsay and Emily, it's Kiersey speaking. We had other questions in the chat that I don't think were addressed from Chaz, and I can read those out. So are we submitting our own projects to this, or is this a project like a play and you're putting people in positions? End of question.
Okay, so I think kind of neither. You don't have to have a specific project in mind for this. We have asked you to submit some examples of your work just so that we can get to know you a little bit better. And that can be in whatever form you like. There isn't a specific project in mind. It's not a position like a play, and you're not pitching a proposal. You're kind of coming to form together in a group. Iris and Andy are going to be sort of the leads in the directions of things, and we're thinking about this theme, which is sensory experience in the digital realm. So because a lot of us have different sensory needs, and between our access needs and our experiences and the way we experience the world, sometimes for us to come together and experience each other's work, there needs to be a sense of translation between our senses. And doing that in a digital space isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's something like description and providing like really like beautiful description that is like inherently a part of work is like not an uncomplicated question. But I think there's a lot of room for experimentation, especially if we're doing it within our varied communities, and speaking to each other and experimenting. So it's really like, it's about coming together and experimenting and finding different ways of doing that, and then going back into the world and kind of continuing those sort of thoughts. So it's not as formal in either direction that as that question kind of makes it seem. I'm hoping that that's not too wishy-washy, but that's the kind of reality of the experiment. And it is a pilot program, so we're going to learn a lot, and it'll change based on who becomes a part of this program, and the next iteration of it will be different as well. So yeah, hopefully that end of thought. Hopefully that answers your question.
Emily, Chaz asks if you can give an example of what you mean when you say sensory when it relates to a painter.
Well, for example, as like folks can't always take in the visuals of a painting, especially in a digital environment. So you can look at ways of describing your painting that gives an experience, that gives a different kind of experience of it. So that can be something as simple as alt text, or it can be as complex as a longer visual description. It can be many things, but you're looking to provide an experience of your painting to folks who can't take in the visual experience of your painting, for a variety of reasons, whether that's to do with proximity to it in space, or whether it's because they're blind or low vision like me, or often people. Anyway, there's many reasons why you might not be able to take in the visuals, and so providing like an interesting translation of those visuals, either through language or through sound or a variety of other senses. So that's that kind of sensory translation. You could be making sounds that are related and integrated into your artwork. You could be reading a description. You could be writing things. There's a whole kind of variety of ways that might that sensory translation might happen.
Yeah, that sounds great. And Chaz, yes, it can be interactive, especially it can be interactive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I've caught up to most of the questions. If anyone can let me know if I've missed any questions. This is like a collaborative effort here. No, eh? These have been really great questions. Emily, is there anything else that you feel like should be said?
I will send out a follow-up to everyone in this group that's going to have a link to the application form, and some links to all of the links that we put in this chat. So I'll follow up. And if anyone wants to follow up with me, you can get me at programs@creativeusers.net. Yeah, that's right? I didn't just like blank on my own email address.
Programs@creativeusers.net, yes.
Yeah, so we will follow up with you, but please don't hesitate to get in touch if you've got any follow-up questions. I'm happy to answer any and all of your questions.
And Emily, we can also actually, Chaz just asked if we can send the transcript from the chat.
Yeah, we'll
so
be
we can,
posting that as well as a part of the Oh, not the transcript from the chat. We're going to take the questions and put them in sort of like a Q&A form for the transcript of this whole thing. We might do a bit of editing just for clarity so I don't know if we'll, but I think that you all have the ability to you can save the chat right now. We'll have a copy of it, and if you specifically want a copy of the chat, we can definitely send that to you.
Great, thank you, Emily. Well, we have 4 minutes for me to tell Emily how much I love her and how grateful I am for her bearing through 20 plus questions. And, you know, for putting together this enormous, ambitious program, I actually really appreciate that it's like still being evolved and that we're having these conversations while you're determining the shape of it with the artist. So that's actually really exciting to me. So I encourage everybody here to keep in touch with us. We will be communicating with you about any updates, as Emily said. And thank you to everybody for coming, for joining.
Yeah. And keep an eye on our social media, as we're going to be putting some profiles about the artists up soon, and all sorts of information. So we would, and tell all your friends.
Yeah. And Iris, thank you for joining as well.
Yeah.
And I hope you're feeling better, Iris.
Yeah. I hope everyone is having a good Wednesday also. And that you can all, do something nice for yourselves today.
Heart from Harmeet. Okay.
Aww.
Bye, everyone.
Also.
Thank you, Gaitrie.
Thank you, Gaitrie. Thank you, Rogue.